Okay, let's start our next session. So Dr. Nadeau is going to give you a welcome speech. So let's welcome Dr. Nadeau.
Okay, hello everyone. It's nice to see everybody. It's been a while. For the last month, I've been in the US. Um, I hadn't been here in a year and a half, so I got to see my daughter's engagement party with her partner. Miranda's 30, and they're planning to get married in April of next year. Uh, Thanks to the Supreme Court, Texas wouldn't have allowed it. But so anyway, really looking forward to that. And my son, who's 27, I helped him drive a U-Haul from Denver to Chicago for his new job, and got to see some friends and say goodbye to my former colleagues at Trinity University. I've been on an unpaid leave of absence from Trinity, but now I've formally retired from Trinity, hoping to stay long-term in Taiwan. And so I got to say goodbye to my religion department colleagues and my East Asian Studies program colleagues at Trinity. So that was really, really nice to see them. So kind of bittersweet, saying goodbye. But anyway, it was really great to be with Miranda and Adrian. And interesting to be in the United States, where, finally I got to see for myself what politicization of vaccines is all about. And in most cases, vaccine resistance being fed by misinformation and lack of common sense and strong political feelings that I can't completely understand, but it's good to be here and to see for myself. You all experienced all of this, so you've kind of been there, and now I got to see it too. So things, are not as stable as they should be in the United States at this point in terms of control of the pandemic. But that's the way it is. What I want to do this morning is and I'll be coming back to Taiwan over the weekend, and I'll get to experience quarantine, which you have experienced and I have not yet. So looking forward to that. But anyway, what I want to do now is share with you some updates and an overview of the Fulbright program as a whole in Taiwan, so that you can see the whole picture. And I'm going to share my screen. Hang on a second. Some of this, I don't want to repeat from last year, or last January, when you guys came, but to update you and for this year's cohort. Okay, now I'm hoping my screen is visible, so someone tell me, Kevi, is it visible to everybody?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, good. All right. So I'll start with, the words of our founder, and I'm going to come back to Fulbright at the end of this presentation. But I think that, what I value about this program is the idea that true understanding depends upon us being together. The vision is that Americans go abroad and see the world as it really is, and that our international scholars and students come to the United States and see the United States as it really is, not just as it appears in the media or movies or or sensationalist news, because that only gives us part of the picture. And so for you, being now starting the second year or now a full year in Taiwan, you have a unique opportunity to understand Taiwan as it really is. And as I've said to you before, I think even though I've been coming to Taiwan for many years, I think you know Taiwan better because you're in schools and communities and working with co-teachers and kids. And so you are living in in a context that is very unique and is not possible for most people from abroad to experience. So it's a treasure and it's a wonderful opportunity that you have, and I'm glad that you're enjoying it enough to want to stay on for another year. As a reminder, the Fulbright program was founded in 1946, so this is actually the 75th year, and various 75th year anniversary celebrations are planned around the world. We will have one in November that we're coordinating with AIT to celebrate this milestone. The China program started the year after. It was one of the first. Germany, Japan, and China were the first programs globally. And here in Taiwan in 1957. So we've completed 64 years in Taiwan. We are a binational commission here in Taiwan. There's 49 of those, 49 binational commissions among the 160 global programs. And what this means is that I report to a board that consists of equal representation from the US and Taiwan sides. In our case, most of our funding actually comes from Taiwan. 30% of our funding comes from the United States Department of State. That's through congressional appropriation. But the other 70% of our revenues comes from Taiwan. And your program in particular is fully funded by Taiwan's Ministry of Education. So I was mentioning about the 49 commissions or foundations. So that means that about 110 programs are run from the US embassies in the various countries. And those are relatively small programs. So the big programs are run by these commissions or foundations such as ours. And you can see here where the 49 commissions are distributed. And in the East Asia Pacific, we have 9 commissions. And I have close contact with the executive directors from the other 8 commissions in the region. Of course, with the impacts of COVID, we're all in different situations. So Australia and New Zealand still have not opened. Japan still has not opened to American grantees. Thailand, Malaysia, and Korea have partially opened, and so on. And I'll give you an update in a minute about our program. So the board of directors currently is composed of these 10 members. I think I showed you this slide, not that you'd remember it, in January. Sometimes some people come and go. Some of these positions are ex officio. The honorary chair of the FSC board is the U.S. ambassador. And as Jenning mentioned a moment ago, Director Christensen has retired, and he has been replaced, or will be soon, maybe has been already, by Sandra Oudkirk. She is a career diplomat with extensive experience in East Asia, especially China, and she's had a tour here in Taiwan. So I think she is a high-profile appointment by the State Department, and and she's a strong supporter of Fulbright, and we're all looking forward to working with her. The actual sort of day-to-day operations of this foundation are run by me, the executive director, and the teams, such as the ETA team that runs the ETA program. But quarterly, I report to this board, and the chairman of the board is Diane Sovereign, who is the public affairs officer at AIT. Three of those people on the left column there are AIT employees or diplomats. And on the right, the Taiwan representatives come from Ministry of Foreign Affairs, Ministry of Education, academic institutions such as National Taiwan University and Academia Sinica, and so on. Anyway, what I really like to emphasize here is that although the Fulbright program originated in the United States, and there's a Fulbright office in Washington, but in our case and the case of these 49 commissions, we are bilateral programs. So I don't report to AIT, I report to this board, which is represented equally by US and Taiwan representatives. Okay, so in the 65 years that we've been in Taiwan, we've had well over 3,000 grantees going in both directions, from the US to Taiwan, from Taiwan to the US, and a number of very prominent Taiwanese have been Fulbrighters. And there's an active Taiwan Fulbright Fulbright Alumni Association that meets regularly and celebrates their experiences as Fulbrighters in the United States. So what about this year coming up? I thought you just might be interested in knowing, what the distribution of grantees will be for this year coming. COVID has had such a huge impact.
Excuse me, Dr. Nadeau.
Yeah.
Sorry to interrupt. It looks like the screen is frozen for us. We can't see any other slides besides the intro slide.
Oh, really? Oh,
Yeah,
thank you
sorry
for
about
telling me that. No, I'm glad you told me that. So what should we do, Jody? It got frozen on the intro slide, and I have all these interesting slides. Hang on. Okay, so
Dr. No, can you restart it again? Because I read it normally. So
oh, yours was fine. So maybe
yeah.
maybe it was your problem.
So
Okay,
maybe
let
we
me-
can just restart it. Can you
Okay,
share it again?
I'll stop presenting, and then I'll start presenting again. Oh, so other people, okay, and maybe you're just getting bored, so I'll speed this up. Hang on a second. So now I share my screen again. Okay, and then why don't you let me know if it appears. Okay, so maybe I'm gonna jump down to where I was here. Now, Kevy, can you see it?
Yes,
Okay.
yes, I can see it.
You're okay. Okay. So for this year's grantees, anyway. Okay. So so you see, we have 91 Taiwan grantees and 267 U.S. grantees this year coming up, for a total of 381, and I have a staff of 41 people, 21 in the head office in Taipei, and 20 local coordinators for the ETA and ETF programs. The COVID disruption was quite severe last year. Your arrival was delayed, of course. Taiwanese scholars and students basically didn't go. We had very, very few who were able to go to the United States last year. This year, because of that, we'll have actually a larger group. We will have some deferrals from last year who will be able to go this year. But you can see the different categories of grants that we have. 27 senior scholars, those are university professors. 7 non-academic professionals, these are primarily Ministry of Culture grantees. They are in the arts, museum work, dancers, musicians, playwrights. Then we have a distinguished teaching award for 1 elementary or high school teacher. We have 11 graduate students going this fall and 45 foreign language teaching assistants who will be doing similar work to what you do as co-teachers in Chinese language classrooms, but in their case, in university settings. On the US side, we will have 10 senior scholars, 18 graduate students, plus 23 China transfers. Those are graduate students who had planned to be in China this past year and this year, but because the former president of the United States terminated the China program, so those grantees weren't able to go. So they have come to Taiwan to do their graduate research. We project 154 ETAs, 72 ETFs, plus our second year of the debate coach program. And then we also have 11 FSE grantees. Those are our TEFL and mental health advisors, whom you know very, very well. Now, as you also know, the arrival of most of these grantees is now delayed because of the border being closed at the moment. We are very, very hopeful that the border will be opened up soon and that they will be able to come, but they will be late. There's just probably no getting around that fact. So I think how that impacts you is something that the ETA team will be discussing with you in the coming days. But anyway, we're glad you're here because you're here on time and you'll be able to be in your classrooms at the start of the school year. Okay, so let me just tell you a little bit about, and I don't want to bore you, but just tell you a little bit about the different grants that we are awarding this year. So I mentioned that we have 27 scholars going to the US, and they're going to be doing research in some wonderful, prestigious public and private universities, such as those you see listed here. Then we have the FLTA program, and you'll notice here just how much this has grown. We are really pushing the FLTA program. We've been pushing the Fulbright program in Washington to accept more of our applicants. And you can see in the bottom, the red line, that 45 is a record number of FLTAs that we will have this year. And the 95 applicants is a record number of applicants. And that's because we've been doing a lot of recruitment for this program. One reason that we have so many, that we've grown from 22 to 45, doubled the number in a couple of years, is again because of tensions between the US and China. So we're no longer, or the US is no longer receiving FLTAs from China. And so we're trying to fill in there. We recruit widely for this program. And in fact, we've had in the past a number of English co-teachers from the ETA program go to the US as FLTAs. And so talk to your co-teacher and encourage them to apply to be an FLTA. In addition, In Taiwan, teaching Chinese as a second language is becoming a very popular degree. There are more and more master's programs that are offering this degree. And so we're able to recruit students from those TCSL master's degree programs. Finally, just mention that we've got 11 new doctoral students going to the US this year. That's a record. We've never had so many in 1 year. In the last 10 years, we've sent 106 doctoral students to the US to do PhDs in the United States. And mostly we do these in the humanities and social sciences. But we're really proud of this cohort for getting into such great institutions and starting their doctoral studies in the US this fall. Okay, now turning to the US grantees. Taiwan is becoming a really popular destination for Fulbrighters. Look at the tremendous growth in the number of applicants for our US scholars, our fellows, that's graduate students doing dissertation research, and MA students over the last 3 or 4 years. So you can see just the huge growth in the number of applications to these programs. And here are some of the projects that the scholars will be doing. And I'm hoping at some point during the year, you'll have a chance to meet the scholars. Just going down the list, at China Medical University, a scholar working on health promotion intervention for sedentary workers. Another at Taiwan University doing a history project in Middle Period China and Inner Asia. At Chunggong University on material culture in Taiwan. At Tsinghua on science research and education. At Shifan Daxue on K-12 education. At Zhengzhi University on film. At Taipei University of Education, a project on math teaching. At Academia Sinica, a history project on concubinage in the Minguo period in China. Then at Shida on nonfiction writing, and finally a project at Taiwan University on nature, culture, and geography. That's by a geographer. So really exciting and interesting projects that the scholars are bringing with them to Taiwan. I mentioned the MA programs. This is one of my priorities to develop these programs. These are programs that bring American students to Taiwan to do a master's degree. Currently, or this fall, we will have a total of 18 grantees, 9 returning and 9 new ones. We now have 12 partners, departments and programs at 8 universities, and you can see those listed here. Might be something, some of these might be of interest to you, and you might consider applying either for a Fulbright scholarship to these programs, or simply applying to the programs, to do a master's degree. Keep in mind that these programs and the Ministry of Education also have scholarships. So it's not just a Fulbright scholarship that can get you access to these programs and many others. These happen to be our partners. And then at the bottom you see with Chinese language-based programs under development, I've been meeting recently with China Medical University, Chunggong University, Tsinghua, and others to develop Chinese language-based programs. Of the 12 that you see listed here, the first 11 are all taught in English. Only the 12th one at Donghua is taught in Chinese. And that's actually a 3-year grant, with the first year dedicated to intensive language study and then 2 years to do the MA. And that's the model that I'm trying to develop for other Chinese language-based programs so that we can add to this list with more of combination or choice between English language-based programs and Chinese language-based programs. Okay, so these are really popular, lots of applicants for all of these programs, and they're really exciting, really great. I love visiting the faculty and seeing what they do in these programs. We also run a study abroad program at the foundation. It's called the Consortium for Study Abroad in Taiwan, CSAT. And this is to bring American students to Taiwan. We have more than 30 partners here in Taiwan, and depending on students' interests, we can sort of send them out to different locations. We don't provide scholarships for this, but we provide sort of programming and connections and help with visa support. Okay, now finally the ETA program. Again, huge growth in interest. Your cohort a year ago, we had 379 applicants, huge jump from last year to this year. Maybe you were spreading the word. If you were, thank you very much. But also I think, Taiwan's been in the news handling the pandemic as well as it has, and just more visibility overall. And so the number of applicants has just skyrocketed for this upcoming cohort. And we're bringing 154 ETAs this fall. So at this point, if you add up all of the student applications for all the student programs, including ETA program, MA students, or graduate fellows, we now this year have the third largest number of applications of any Fulbright programs in the world. So I think that's a real testament to the strong interest now that people have in Taiwan, because it doesn't compare in size to these, in terms of population, to these countries surrounding it. And now with our 154 ETAs coming, we have leapt into second place in terms of the number of ETAs, surpassing Germany this year with the 154 ETAs. And that doesn't even count you guys, you ETFs, since the ETF program is not a Fulbright program. And I'll say more about that now, which is that to remind you that although we recruited you primarily from ETAs, in other words, you were ETAs this past spring, not all of you were, and we don't limit the program to that. So we reach out to all former ETAs. We reach out to experienced TEFL instructors. We have several partners in the United States who have TEFL master's degree programs, and they can apply to be part of this program as well. So it's not limited just to ETAs, though that's the large majority. And this is an FSE grant that's sponsored by the Ministry of Education. So it exists by virtue of a cooperative agreement between our foundation, Foundation for Scholarly Exchange, and the Ministry of Education, Central Ministry of Education. So it's a little bit different model from the ETA program, which is a Fulbright program. Obviously, you were Fulbrighters last year, and is based upon individual contracts and negotiations with city and county governments. So the ETA programs and ETF programs are structured a little bit differently in these ways, but of course work in close coordination with one another. And some counties will not have any ETFs, and other counties have a mixture of ETAs and ETFs. And I think for most of you, you'll be working alongside with ETAs this fall. And as I mentioned yesterday, it was really competitive. There were a lot of applicants to join the ETF program. The selection was based on recommendations from the TEFL advisors, from local coordinators, and then you wrote your own statements, which were reviewed by the ETA team. Okay, so I think that Kelly and her team will be giving you this overview later on, and maybe you've seen this already, but basically we're now entering our 18th or 19th year of the ETA program, and now we've expanded to 13 counties. We had been at 9. We added New Taipei City this past year. Some of you were the first ETAs to New Taipei City. And now this coming fall, we're adding 4 new sites, which are Southern Hualien. We already have a program, obviously, in Hualien City and surroundings, but in Southern Hualien, in Pingtung, Jiayi, and Penghu. So we're really excited about this. They're very excited that they will have ETAs and ETFs, and some of you will be in these new sites. And thank you so much for doing that. And you're going to have a fantastic time, I promise. We have added to the advising pool. We'll have 11 advisors this year to support both the ETAs and the ETFs. And so this is now the administrative support team. And I just want to, again, speak on behalf of Kelly Zhang and the whole team, just to express my gratitude and I guess an appeal to all of you for your understanding and empathy for that team. They have worked so hard this summer and in the past year. Partly because of the impact of COVID and all the adjustments that have to be made all the time, but also just creating the ETF program. There were many challenges, and I'm just so indebted to Kelly and everybody on the team, the Taipei team, and all the local coordinators. It's such a privilege to work with this group, and I'm so lucky to know them and to have grown close to them. But also, I just hope that you can understand that, these are humans. We're not a huge corporate machine. We operate this Taiwan program on our own and, do the best that we can. And sometimes adjustments need to be made. So thank you so much for your flexibility and understanding. We're really happy to be bringing back several of our advisors from last year. Megan, Kara, and Matt are all going to be back. Kevy, of course, is lead advisor. He's back, of course. And David Herman is back. And Jane Lynn, since she has her baby, will also be back as our mental health advisor. And so we've then added others to the team who we're really excited about and who are very eager to be here. Some are here already, and some are awaiting, the visa and the border to open up before they can get here. But again, we're looking for that to happen any day now. So just on a final note, before I conclude, it takes constant adjustment, and it's amazing just to see, the difference that a year makes, where a year ago we couldn't bring you, and now we can't bring the ETAs again. A year ago, we couldn't send our Taiwan grantees. Now we're able to do that. So it's a very, it's always a shifting situation. Our first priority is your health and safety, making sure, that you are able to take care of yourselves and your health. I also am responsible for the safety and comfort of the FSE staff, including local coordinators, and protection of the wider community. So all the things that we ask you to do in terms of testing and, cautions that you take, we have to do out of respect for our hosts and the community here. A final note, I think I did talk a little bit about this in January, about the legacy of the founder of the program, J. William Fulbright. And as a reminder from Dr. Randall Wood's biography of Fulbright, we have in this person two legacies. The first legacy is that of a rigid segregationist. Senator Fulbright voted against the Equal Accommodations Act, the Civil Rights Act of 1964, and even participated in the filibuster against it. He voted against the Voting Rights Act of 65, the Fair Housing Act of 1968. Yet, on the other hand, he was an architect of the most comprehensive and efficacious exchange program in American history and an outspoken opponent of the war in Vietnam. The task before us, it seems to me, is how to repudiate the segregationist legacy while preserving the enlightened internationalist legacy. To update you, a number of us executive directors meet regularly for discussions about the name of Fulbright, whether the name should be retained for this program or if some alternative could be suggested. We know that the University of Arkansas, where Fulbright was a professor first and then a president of the university, has a college named after him there. They have been examining his history and deciding what to do about that. And so it's still a work in progress, I would say. And my personal hope is that, I think that it's time to change the name. But I also think that, there are other ways that we can recognize and acknowledge and be grateful for William Fulbright's international vision. And, from another point of view, Fulbright, the name, the word Fulbright now represents what you do and who you are, and not just that particular individual. So you should be proud to be Fulbrighters in all your individualism and diversity. So this raises the questions which I ask every cohort, which are, what does it mean to be American and to represent America? How do you want your co-teachers and students to remember you? Because they will remember you as Americans, as their American teacher. And so what do you want them to think of America and Americans? And for me, we should always be affirming our values, which are the values of internationalization, diversity, self-expression, commitment, generosity, and service. And I think, values are shaped and grow over time. And I think, all of you from my sharing with you last year, one is always learning. And I think if one comes in with an open heart, that change is possible. And, I think that when criticism, and I welcome criticism, when it comes out of idealism out of concern for all, out of love, I appreciate it. And I have learned a lot in the last year about diversity, about inclusiveness, and what it means. And I'm talking to you now, and I hope you don't see this as pablum, as just lip service, because I am sincere about it. And I really do appreciate you for calling me out on things that you see or hear that don't sit right with you, or don't feel right, or feel exclusive to you. So I welcome that. It's painful, it hurts, but it's good. And I think that's how we uphold these values. That's how we move forward and make the world a better place, and make America a better place. And represent ourselves in all of our individualism. And to me, what makes America great is our differences and how different we are one from another, but with some common vision that that's a good thing, that to be different, to be self-expressive, but and be part of a community that acknowledges and affirms that. That's what we stand for. That's what we can believe in together, whatever, our particular identity might be. So let's do that together. Let's be that together. Okay, so to conclude, we wish you a fulfilling, transformative year of exploration, cultural creativity, and personal growth, a true partnership between you and your communities, and all the friendships that you will form in the coming year, both inside your schools and outside them. I wish you all the very, very best. Okay, thank you, Kevi. That's the end of my
Thank you,
show.
Dr. Nadeau.
Okay,
Okay.
stop presenting. There we go. Did I stop? Yeah, okay. All right, thank you.
Thank you. So thank you everyone for the new year. And then so in this afternoon we will have a new link. So don't go to the wrong conference room. Okay, so if you don't know which one is the next section, you can go back to the schedule, or you can ask your coordinators. Okay, so we will see you guys in the afternoon. So take a rest. And if you have any questions, you can contact your coordinator. So see you.